Hello, beautiful souls, and good morning. This is a pop-up conversation that I'm really excited to have. So, whether you are catching this live or on the replay, I'd love for you to just let us know, say hello. And this is Hope Corbin, who I have known, I don't know, like off and on, we've had the same circle at music festivals and other things for probably close to a decade now. But we've had the chance to get to know each other more over this last year. And we are kindred souls in that dance and movement has been one of the things that has supported us in creating businesses that offer transformational experiences to people. But on a more personal level, the dance has been the medicine for both of us,
Mhm.
especially through the highs and lows of motherhood, a journey that we have both been on recently. We both have kids that are about the same age, and we just wanted to talk about how powerful dance is as a technique, as an experience, as a modality for magic, for mastery, for alignment, for healing, for transformation, and so much more. So thanks for coming to hang out this morning, Hope.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me here. I'm really excited to talk about this subject.
Yeah. So we love to dance. We love to just like shake our booties and go to a festival or just groove or whatever. But there's also a deeper form of dance that I know you have near and dear to your heart. So would you maybe share your definition of conscious dance and the piece that we're actually talking about, which is a little bit less just going to the club and shaking your thing and more of a process and a journey?
Yeah, well, in the past, my definition of conscious dance or ecstatic dance, as I used to call it, now I call it conscious dance so that it's a bit more of a wider umbrella because I also practice things like trance dance and authentic movement, which I wouldn't really define as ecstatic dance. So making the umbrella a little wider. So my definition used to be that ecstatic dance was dance or free form movement as a healing and spiritual practice. But there was recently a really exciting UCLA study that came out, and actually it was some of my students that brought it to my attention. And I just really love their definition. It's just a little bit more expansive. And so I'm going to share that. So conscious dance is unchoreographed, intentional, free flow, creative, mindful movement for the purposes of authentic self-expression, self-discovery, interpersonal connectedness, and personal healing or growth. So I really love that definition of it. And it leaves it pretty wide open. And yet there's this piece with conscious dance that we're just really deeply listening to our bodies, and not just our bodies, but also our heart and souls on how they want to move. And with that, practitioners are finding that they're reaching states that are very similar to mindfulness and also flow states, which is, those are big words these days in terms of like the therapeutic benefits of, mindfulness is pretty out there. And also like flow states is a pretty big word out there right now too. So conscious dance can bring us to very similar places, um, to both of these things.
Yeah, I have felt that so many times, and it's literally my favorite state to be in. And I experienced it way before I knew conscious dance was a thing. But when I was 16 years old and started going to music festivals and raves, like way back in the day, I would find myself dancing to that place of pure presence where I felt that flow state without having the word for it. And I called it allowing myself to be danced by the music, where I would merge into the music. And it was that place of no mind, but everything. And you could feel that unified presence. And when I was that 16, 17, learning just how much I loved moving in a way that was so free feeling, I said that dance or being on the dance floor was my way of like worshiping the universe. It was my church. It was my reset button. It was my place where I could move out any sadness or grief or feelings of anxiety, and I could really tap into my soul expression, though I might not have called it that at that time, but I really felt like me. I felt that uninhibited experience of pure essence expression. And it I think it changed me at like a cellular level. So I'd love to hear when you first started doing this kind of like of having this experience. What was the first kind of time you realized dance could be so transformational? And maybe actually before you go into that, were your first experiences of dances structured? Did you take the jazz tap ballet kind of thing?
Yeah, I definitely did. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I mean, my first experiences, honestly, were as a young child. I want to say like 6 or 7, but it might have been even younger. Just I loved to dance around my living room, and we had a south-facing window, so these beautiful rays of sunshine would come into the living room, and I just loved to dance. And I think I remember anyway. I don't know if this is my parents' story, but I remember begging my parents constantly to send me to dance classes. So that was my first experience. And especially as a young child, I also loved, being in the imaginary world, as children often do. So I loved dancing and having that soulful expression, but also being able to play out like imaginary scenarios through movement. And so that definitely led me on a long journey of going through more structured dance like ballet and tap, jazz, musical theater. And then finally, I got into modern dance. And then from modern dance, because I took a dance training in Vancouver, a 2-year performance art training in Vancouver. And then that led me to exploring contact improvisation and dance improvisation in general. And we did have a really cool, I don't remember their name, but a really cool dance improvisation teacher come into the program. And I think that started when it started tuning in for me, that I was like, oh, like the structure is nice, but there's so much baggage that comes with the structure around dance. I definitely experienced the eating disorders and the body judgment that can come with more structured dance, and that led me into some more darker spirals. But as I started to explore dance improvisation, I'm like, okay, this is why I'm dancing. At the same time as I got into that, then yes, I got into the underground dance scene in Vancouver, and I fell into a really cool crew they were doing conscious parties. So it was like, conscious gatherings, conscious dance festivals, and I started being like, yes, this is why I'm dancing. As much as I was enjoying the performance aspect, there was more of my soul, more of my being that was like, this is why I'm doing it. I'm doing it for myself. And as much as that seems selfish, I was like, no, this is my spirituality. This is how and I've always said, dance is what brings me home to myself. And I think we can all experience those times where, especially those of us who are in different service, occupations out there, or if you're a parent, then you can find that you start to be about other people and less about yourself. And dance was always like, this is what brings me home. This is how I connect deeply with myself, whether that's like kind of the internal self, or, that force that's much larger than myself. That's how I connect.
Mm, agreed. And similar experiences across the board. And I'm curious, if you're watching this live or on the replay, do you have this experience where you have had these amazing, almost like peak experiences when you're dancing and you love dancing and you're like, I feel so good when I dance. And then maybe you have fallen away from making the time or being in the situations that would allow you to create that in your life? Because I know as I got older and I stopped going to as many transformational dance events, and I stopped being out with my parenting journey and everything like that. You're just like not going out every weekend to dance, that I didn't notice that I wasn't dancing as much. I used to also, I should just preface, my first company was called Dancing into Being. So I taught conscious dance and hula hooping and all kinds of movement arts for 7 or 8 years. So my work was this dance, and I got to bring people into that. But then I shifted some of my business. COVID happened. I wasn't going out as much. And I realized it had been months and months since I had danced. And I didn't notice how much my mood and my energy had started to become affected from that lack of expression. So I feel like I can't be alone in this, because I talk to the women, especially the women around my age, who are mothers, who are entrepreneurs, and they're like, I love dancing and I miss dancing. I'm not dancing enough. I'm not doing this. Has that happened to you as well in your like life and parenthood and business progression?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny, even though this is my work and this is still my work, um, I'll go through periods where it's like I'm only doing it with when I work. Although there's a piece in there that I realize that for me, it's a big part of it is about community. And so like I'm more inspired to do it when I'm in community. So that's why I'm consciously and constantly creating community spaces in which I can dance in. And at the same time, I realized I can also do this for myself. As much as I love doing it in community, I can also do it for myself. So I do go through kind of waves where I'm more in my practice personally, and then other times when I'm just kind of relying on the fact that I do it for my work. hmm And
Yeah.
yeah, and I totally noticed the difference for sure. Like I lately have been way more back in my practice. My mood is more level. I'm more inspired. I'm just generally feeling good. I'm also feeling well resourced because I do a lot of work and I do a lot of work, in my work, but also with friends and family, like holding space, especially of late. And I find I'm just more resourced. Like I feel like I can offer more to other people when I've been giving that time to myself first.
Yeah. Every time I create that time to dance, whether it's by myself or whether I have gone to Dance Temple, which is a beautiful community that Hope is part of leading in Edmonton, where people can go to dance for a few hours in a sacred space of silence. And I'll get you to tell us a little bit more about that, because I think we should highlight that opportunity for people that might be local. It is the best. Every time I do dance, I have that same thing where I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel aligned, resourced, connected. And I then am able to navigate challenges with so much more ease and flow and resilience. And to me, it's like bringing myself back into the flow state that I want to live. And when I make the time, when I create the time to do that for myself, everything else is actually more effective, more efficient. It's just, I honestly think that not only is like movement and dance medicine, but it's literally tapping us into our creation magic. We can use that consciousness to work with energy, to move energy, to manifest, to create, to clear things out, to activate that deep connection with our spirit, with each other, with the music, with the elements, with our personal power. And then we can also embody the energy of whatever it is that we are ready to create. So I could probably talk about this for a decade straight because I'm really passionate about it. So tell everybody about the sacred space that you create and why it's a little bit different than just throwing on some tunes and dancing.
Yeah. So there's some when we dance with intention, then there's so much more that can happen. And for me, my practice, when dance becomes medicine for me, it's very much about working with energy. And for me, I personally work with the pranic energy or the life force energy of the earth, as well as source, and dancing in kind of an alchemical flow connection between those two energies. And that just is like so deeply nourishing for me. It also really supports me to help to clear out any stagnant energy in my system. And so that is the difference for me. And there's many different ways that you can work with intention and dance. Like, for example, the modality of trance dance has kind of a different kind of intention. But I mean, just turning on some music in your living room and getting your groove on, that can do a lot. But when dance also becomes a form of meditation or prayer or like energy work, energy healing work, then you can experience healing and you can experience wholeness. And then you can also, again, as you know, like then take that farther in terms of what am I creating in my life? What am I manifesting? And align yourself with embodying the states of being that you want to put out there in the world, that you want to experience in your life, and aligning yourself with that. And there's so many different ways that you can work with it in that way, but just adds this other level. Yes, going to the club, dancing in your living room, just that can add a lot of benefit. But we can also use it for our healing, for personal growth, for spiritual development, all these other pieces when you bring in added intention into the practice.
I couldn't have said it better. It's that consciousness that allows us to go so much deeper. And I love doing it anytime, anywhere, with my hula hoops, in the kitchen, out with people, but also that next level where it's deeper is in ceremony for me. But I also love bringing in movement breaks as an educator. I have a lot of digital programs. I have my Creation Coach Academy, and a little piece of that has its own conscious dance facilitator training where we're working with all of the elements and the source and earth energy, as you were saying. But I really love also bringing in intentional movement breaks to move energy or shift energy and create space for people to learn inside my digital programs. If I'm doing a class where I'm teaching people at the beginning, middle, or end, like wherever it needs to go, I love just having my students drop in for 3 to 5 minutes for a song too, because it shifts the energy. It is energy work, it's breath work, it's consciousness, it's you're stretching. But I find that it actually makes space in your body and your energetic field. And then you have room to learn. You've got room for that inspiration to drop in, like you were saying. You have this deeper connection to the present moment, but also to, I feel like, the all that is. So whether you're like going deep and doing an hour-long or 2-hour-long ecstatic dance ceremony, or you're just taking an intentional conscious break for one song, it just opens up all of these pathways for magic, like magic being the shorthand for all of the conscious creation we can do.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've always seen it as creating that space for me, like you'll spend time at least once a week cleaning your house, maybe more would be nice. And so for me, it's like cleaning the internal house, and then there's more space for my soul to come in and be embodied in my being. So that's the big part of my practice.
Yes.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And there's so many other ways we can do that. I actually have titled myself a soul embodiment guide. And I love that people now know what that is. And lots of people like yourself would have for a long time. But when I started a couple of years ago saying that, people like, dude, what? It, it was not in the lexicon. And now it feels like people really are realizing that there doesn't have to be this separation between our soul, our spirit, and our bodies. And we can actually create that room and then live as that. So it gives us more power, like we were talking about for creation, but more ability to be who we really are. It is that energy work. It is that creative expression. It is, I always said dance is, I feel like, this beautiful form of yoga or union with the divine where you get to do all of the things at once. It's like this shortcut almost to, instead of having to do all of this meditation and breath work and what have you, you can pull all of the pieces in and add the movement that just allows it to be so much more potent, so much more powerful. And I kind of forgot that. I did. When I stepped into my online business and moved away from dancing, I started working with sound. And I had this journey into working with sound expression and music and frequencies. And I forgot how magical dance was. And then when I started doing it again, and I remember being in your ecstatic dance class at Vibes Music Festival 2 years ago, and I realized it had been literally months since I had danced with that intention. And I was rolling around on the ground covered in grass. And I remember feeling like I had returned home to myself because I had gotten into this very cerebral way of living where I was just doing things mentally instead of being in that full physical expression of my beingness. And I will never forget that class. I remember just being, thank you, Hope. It was so good.
You're
So
welcome.
um yes, thank you. But also you create these spaces and places. So tell me if someone is local, how they can hop on the Dance Temple train, but also no matter where you are right now, you've got something happening online for people to tap into this magic.
Absolutely. Yeah. So if you're local, you can join us on Friday nights at Dance Temple. It's a super safe, sacred space. It's for people who want to explore conscious dance or dance as meditation, dance as prayer. And it doesn't have to be prayer for you. Again, it can just be grooving on the dance floor. Dance Temple is a little bit different in that we kindly ask that people don't have conversations on the dance floor, and it kind of shifts the vibe so that people can really go in, and not that you can't still connect with others. You can
Mm,
connect with body language and expression and still have connection with people. But it's so interesting when we remove the words and create a space where people can drop in. They have these really sacred experiences, these really soul embodied experiences. And from hearing the comments in the closing circles every week, I know that the space is just so welcoming, especially for new people. They're like, I don't know, this is a little scary. I don't know what this is about. And they come in and they feel really safe to be themselves. I think that's something that you just said, that conscious dance really creates a super safe space for people to fully be who they really are. And I think that's really important in this time, uh, especially like we've got the pressure of the normal media, and then we've got pressures of social media and all these external pressures telling us how we need to be, who we need to be, how we need to show up, and having really safe, sacred spaces where people can just embody who they really are. I think that is such potent medicine, because I think that a big cause of depression can often be where we feel this discrepancy between who we know that we are, or who we intuit that we are, and what society is telling us that we should be, like all those shoulds, right? And so having these spaces where you can just show up and be yourself, even if it's for an hour, 2 hours, can be such nourishing, healing medicine. And to be around other people doing the same thing is even more potent. So locally in Edmonton, we have dance temples Fridays, 7 to 9 p.m. It's currently at Roots on White in the conference room. And you can find us on Facebook. Just look up Dance Temple Edmonton. And there are also dance temples at least all over Western Canada. So there's one in Victoria, Salt Spring, Calgary, I think maybe Hornby Island, Sunshine Coast, Comox Valley. There'll be more that come to mind, but just look up Dance Temple in your area and you'll probably find a similar event. But yeah, starting today and for the next 30 days online, I am offering a 30-day conscious dance challenge. It's pretty easy. All you need to do is move your body in a way that feels good for you, that feels aware and sacred for you, for 5 to 30 or more minutes a day. And then we've got an online community where you can check in, you can share how your practice is going. And this is a great space for support, inspiration, accountability, to keep you in your practice. And one of the biggest inspirations for this, again, was this UCLA study that my students brought to my attention, where they found that the more often that you practice, the greater benefits you receive, and for the longer period of time. So that really inspired me, like, okay, what would people be experiencing if they did a 30-day challenge. And we did one in October, and it was incredible. Everybody posts in our online community, our private online community, after they practice, and they share about their experience, what's coming up for them, how it's going. And I just feel so privileged to witness people just coming into new space of self-love for themselves, but also their bodies, letting go of stagnant old emotions that aren't serving them anymore, reclaiming their power, like feeling more empowered, moving through challenging experiences that were going on to their life, and coming and tapping into deeper wisdom that they needed. There's just so many amazing things. So it inspired me to offer it again this January.
Okay, well, you're going to drop the details in the notes so people can sign up. And I was just telling Hope, I had resistance to signing up because I'm doing a few other things that require daily commitment. And I was like, oh, I don't want to do too much. I don't want to do too much. That was my mind saying, and I neglected to check in and go, wait, but would this be in my highest and best good, even though my mind is resisting it? Because I know how important dance is for me. And do I do it every day? No, I do not currently. I do not. I have been much better about moving my body and I've been working out every day, but fully dancing, no, I have not. And so I invite all of you to try this practice on, because your mind probably answered yes, no, I'm in, or you no, or maybe next time, like maybe you've got one of that, and let me know how you're feeling, like put it in the comments. But I want you to try this question out. Put your hands over your heart, take a deep breath, and you go, would it be in my highest and best good to join this dance challenge and dance every day for 30 days? Listen to the answer from your body. Does it, you might be clairaudient and you immediately get a yes or a no, or maybe it's a feeling. And the feeling that would be a yes, just so you know, and you can use this for anything, by the way, it's a great tool, is, does it feel expansive with your body, like, or were you like, did it feel heavy and gross? There are some layers of nuance to that, because sometimes your body could have some trauma around it that might need to be cleared first. Dance is a great way to do that, by the way. But check in with your body. Is this what your body would like to do? My body was like, please, yes, 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 please do this for me. So if you're going to, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to add on one more piece. So when you sign up for the challenge, you get access for 30 days to my online video library. So I've pre-recorded. It's a growing library of conscious dance lessons, mini practices. The people in our online community love the mini practices because they're anywhere from about 5 to 15 minutes long. And so if you need some inspiration to get yourself moving, or you want to learn some new tools to use in your dance practice, the video library is great. And there are also some full, about hour-long length conscious dance ceremonies as well. If you're like, today I want to go really deep, I want some support, I want to be guided in my practice. So that is also available to people who sign up for the challenge, and you get to check that out along with Spotify playlists. So if, again, you might just have your own practice and want to do your own thing, and you're fully welcome to do that and still participate in the challenge. And if there's days when you're like, oh, I'm having some resistance, I could use some support, I want some inspiration, then there's a whole lot of that in our online space as well.
That is such a valuable resource. I know what that resistance feels like, and it is really valuable to have someone hold space. And I know the space that Hope holds, even if it's on a replay on the video, you will feel that energy. You will feel her supporting you and creating that energetic bubble where I know I personally find it easier to drop in. So that is invaluable, really, to be able to deepen your practice.
Yeah, I even enjoy watching the replays, and then I get to have myself hold space for me. That's kind of cute.
I totally know how that goes. I have many as well. And that is such a great opportunity for us to be able to take our own medicine, which is a whole nother level. It's very meta, but it's such a profound thing. And I remember when I moved my business online, I was like, "Ugh, I don't know. I'm not going to be doing the dance thing." And I had to go through that experience where I was not, because I had other things to explore. But as I returned to it, as I reclaimed it, as I brought it back into my teaching and into my facilitation, even online, I felt like I was home. I felt like I was whole. I felt like I was able to just show up and do what I'm really here to do and actually share so much more effectively because I'm being refilled by it. It's like we talked about creating the space, but it's not just creating space, it's also getting that refilling or being resourced, or what I really like to to say is breaking that word of like having the resources is being resourced. That connection to source energy that can fuel us so we're not running our own energy comes through in dance. So it's so funny, unless you're dancing for hours and hours and hours, which obviously will deplete you because you're a physical being. Even though it's a physical activity, I find that I have more energy. I find that I have more of that light inside me to give, but it's not coming from myself. It's reconnecting to all that is. And in the teachings that I was doing last week inside my academy, I was explaining to the students how everything is actually moving all of the time, right? The earth is spinning, it's orbiting the sun, the solar system is also spinning as it's moving through the galaxy. And if you go out and out, the universe is spinning and moving. And if you go all the way in, all of the atoms in our cells are also moving, spinning, dancing. And if you're somebody that has trouble sitting still and meditating and being like, oh, and just having that, this might be a really great way for you to drop into that mindfulness state, because I feel like it's so much more natural for us to actually be in motion rather than be sitting in silence. And I love both, trust me. Especially for women, it can be just such a powerful practice. And there have been lineages in temples throughout time immemorial of priestesses who have danced and like unbroken chains of dancing priestesses for centuries to keep the community in alignment with all that is through movement.
Oh, I just got shivers.
Hmm.
I always, when I dance, I often get those visions and often get those remembrances of dancing in temples, which is one of the reasons why I named Dance Temple, because I had been to an event called Dance Church, and I'm like, oh, I love church. Actually, I loved church as a kid, but I'm like, church now has a bit of an icky feeling for me, that word. And so I'm like, yeah, Dance Temple, just that remembrance of, this is how we kept in touch with that energy. And for me, it's such a form of devotional. It's like a bhakti practice, right? It's this devotion. And that's when I get into my spirituality. But also, in the past, my practice has been a lot about healing different things that have come up for me, old traumas, old hurts, old wounds, old pains, kind of like soul reclamation, bringing more of myself, making myself more whole. But lately, it's just been really about this deep form of nourishment and staying connected.
Mhm. It's like the gift that keeps on giving because it will show up as you need. You need to move energy. You need to just like shake it all off and just like get rid of all the ick. Dance can do that. If you need to be nourished and nurtured and held, dance can do that. If you want to be an ecstatic expression, if you want to have that deep connection, dance can do that. It's so powerful, and you get to make it what it needs to be for you. And I feel like this 30-day challenge that you're doing, I'm so excited to hop in because I know that it will meet me exactly where I'm at and then support me in going further.
Mhm. And the added piece is community. That's been, I mean, it's my MO from since I can remember. But even lately, I feel like community is a piece that is so important in our lives. And I know that I excel in my life anytime I'm part of some kind of support group is what, and usually it's a support group around a certain aspect of my life. But we're herd animals, we need community. And so even though we won't be like dancing live in person with each other, and people will be dancing on their own time in their own space at different times, we can still tap into, I know Kacie loves to talk about the 0 point, that's that thing that goes beyond time and space. And we can connect in there, but then also in the online community, as we each share about what's going on in our practice, then you get to experience this support and this encouragement and accountability too, because you got to like chime in every day and be like, yeah, I did my practice and this is how it's going. So there's an accountability there, but then also inspiration as you read, how everybody's doing. You're like, oh yeah, that's why I'm doing this. And we get to kind of bounce that off each other. And that's such a beautiful piece about the challenge.
Yes. I know I do better with that community accountability. It's why I love running masterminds. And speaking of that community, Hope is currently in the Evolve Mastermind. And it's been really fun to witness how people through the community have had so much more inspiration. And so layering on the different community aspects is so powerful and potent because we don't like letting other people down. We don't like letting other people down. We will show up for other people before we show up for ourselves. And before you make that a wrongness, if you are doing it as a hack to get what you need to do done, there is nothing wrong with that. There is
Oh,
nothing wrong with that. I was just speaking to Hope before when I was saying that I had that resistance. My hack to get my mind on board with what my soul was saying, take the 30-day conscious day challenge and do it so that you can be a even better human. Do it because you're going to be a better teacher, a better space holder, a better wife, a better friend, a better mother, because I will be resourcing myself first. Sometimes it's hard to put yourself first. And I mean, we go on and on in Evolve about putting yourself first, but to get the mind level to be okay with that, you go, so that I can create, so that I can show up as who I truly am, so that I can build my business, so that I can be open to receiving more abundance. So if you needed another nudge because you don't want to invest the time and space just for you, just know that when you do this kind of committed practice, you are actually going to be so much more effective, so much more efficient. So it's just a level up in all levels, in all ways.
absolutely. Hmm.
So I'm excited for you to hold space for all of us to do this practice daily. I can't wait to see and feel what I'm gonna have shift inside me internally. And that can also be a piece of my resistance because there's a next level that I feel like I'm on the precipice of. And let us know in the comments if you feel like you're also on the precipice and you need something to help you fly. This could easily be that thing, even though it's not focused on your business if you're an entrepreneur, even if it might not be focused on your health, like it might be that piece for you that's going to open up the space for everything in your life just to start to groove and flow.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And we're not overselling it. We have personally, for probably each of us over a decade, had these experiences. And we've both had students that have had these experiences where consistent practice of movement is literally life-changing.
Yeah. And I even found, so in my last training, so I also offer a 9-month dance as medicine facilitator training for people who want to go a lot deeper and they want to learn how to hold space for conscious dance ceremonies in their community. And in my last training, it was the first time that I had offered a 30-day dance challenge kind of simultaneous with the training. And the students that took the training, took the challenge, I noticed how much deeper they went and how much more resourced they were, even though we were doing about every other week, we were doing a really deep dance ceremony as part of the training. But the ones that did the 30-day challenge, they got to use it as their laboratory for exploring what was their unique medicine. So they kind of used it like that. But they were also just so much more resourced. They were doing so much better. They were moving through things quicker. They were super inspired. So moving forward, I'm going to make sure that there is a 30-day challenge, as because I always do have a section in my training where it's about, we call it the fire practice. So when we're in the element of fire, we talk about tapas, the fire of practice, the friction that comes. And that's a thing that does come with a regular practice. There can be a little friction, but that friction creates transmutation and transformation through the energy of fire. So we talk about it, and I invite them to create their own practice. But again, it's different when you're really being held in a community and you've got that accountability. It's just different. So the ones that actually did the challenge, yeah, they were just doing so much better.
Mm. That's amazing. We've just started our Dancing into Being training for the conscious dance inside my coaching and facilitation academy, which is a year-long process. And I'm going to share for those people that they could hop in on this challenge to really encourage them to level up their own personal practice. So I didn't even think of that. And I also just want to celebrate that kind of co-creation and that kind of connection of just being able uh, to support. And we both have these facilitation trainings that are same, but so different, because there's so many different lenses and so many different ways that you can play with all of these energies. And I'm just so grateful that this is out there in the world, right? There's no competition about it. There's no like, oh no, my students might get like Hope, and then like they'll go train with her. That'd be great. They could go deeper. It would be amazing, because we have a 12 module dance thing and the rest is all in coaching and facilitation. She goes for 9 months on dance as facilitation, right? There's so much potential for collaboration and co-creation when you are viewing everything in that lens of that sacred connectedness. So I just wanted to point that out, because this is the way we play. This is the way we play in all of like my masterminds and business connections, is that it's connection and collaboration instead of competition. And that allows us to create more abundance for all and literally just dance through life in business. So I'm so grateful to be in community with other women who are doing very similar work in their own way, because we need all voices and all of the creators to be doing their thing right now.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's the piece again where conscious dance can really help you tune in to like who you really are. And I always tell my students, and that's why I offer a really unique training, in that I don't teach people a certain modality. My passion is really supporting what is your unique medicine, what are you here to share. And when we come into that space of really showing up authentically as ourself, we move beyond competition. It's not about competition. There can be no competition. People are going to need different medicines at different times. And I also tell my students about you, because I'm in your Evolve Mastermind. So I've been talking to them about that. And as you know, sharing a little bit about your what do you call it? Evolutionary alchemy? No. What's it called?
The evolutionary alchemy system.
Yeah, and sharing about that. So I share about what you do, and people will need different things at different times, different medicines. And so when we each show up as who we authentically are, and also have the practices, the support, the community to do that as well, then there can be no competition, because again, people are going to be drawn, magnetized to what they need at a different time. And I know for like some of my students have been with different dance facilitators too at different times. And I'm cool with that, because they need different things at different times, and we can each support them in different ways.
Mhm. And one final piece as we're tying this up, that kind of perspective that we're just talking about, and I'm so glad we're talking about this, because a lot of women that are watching this are entrepreneurs, are creatives, and this is what it feels like to be in an open and regulated state where you are not stuck in survival, where you are not feeling that everything is a threat or competition, When you are open and your nervous system is regulated, which, by the way, conscious dance really, 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 really helps with, you can find these connections and collaborations and have this energy of upliftment for all instead of feeling like there's scarcity and lack, which just opens you up to magic and miracles and abundance and prosperity and so much more fun.
Yeah, so much more fun.
So much more fun. So if
Thanks
you
so much. I love playing with you.
mm, playing, dancing, flowing, it's all so good. I can't wait to dance with you for the next 30 days. And please do go ahead and follow Hope. She'll drop the information if you want to dance with us for the next 30 days. And if you have any questions, of course, also just pop them in there because I'm sure Hope would be happy to answer them. This is not the last time you'll be hearing about dance from me because this is just a lifelong passion of mine that is feeling like it's coming full circle. And I am in this full remembrance of what a profound tool it is. And I'm really excited about it. So I can't wait to deepen my personal practice. Thank you all so much for joining us on this Sunday or wherever you're watching this. And I just have one final question. Hope if someone's watching this on the replay and it's like Tuesday, like would they be too late? What happens in that regard?
Yeah, so I'm going to leave the registration open for a few days because so the goal, of course, is like, even if you only practiced for like 5 days out of the 30, you would still get so much benefit out of it. There is a little bit of an incentive, and that is for whoever practices for 28 out of the 30 days and posts about it in our online community. They'll get entered into a draw for a free 3-month membership to Ecstasis Dance Online, which is our private online conscious dance community, which includes the video library. So there's that little bit of incentive. And so, you know, if you start on the 2nd or the 3rd, I think you can still fit those 28 days in. But again, if you practice for 10 out of the 30, if you practice for 5 out of the 30, you're still going to receive so much out of it. So I will keep registration open for a few days. Absolutely.
Mm. Perfect. Amazing. Now I'm feeling so inspired. I can't wait to go dance. And thank you for coming to Play Hope. And we will just send you all a whole bunch of love and we will talk soon.
Awesome. Thank you.